Is Micah Parsons the best defensive player in football?
No. Aaron Donald is still breathing.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Donald is a guy from the defensive tackle, interior defensive lineman position, has 103 sacks in 9 seasons. We talk about a guy who had 20 and a half sacks in 1 season. You take out last year because he didn't finish the entire year, but 5 straight years of double-digit sacks. You talk about the attention that he demands. You talk about the double teams that he gets time in and time out and still finds a way to be disruptive. If it wasn't for Aaron Donald, Joe Burrow would have a Super Bowl ring right now. But the excellence in the play, the upper echelon play, I should say, of a player like Aaron Donald allowed Matthew Stafford and company and the Los Angeles Rams to have a Super Bowl ring under their belt. So when I'm looking at the best defensive player in the National Football League, it's a guy who's done it consistently over and over and over again. Will Micah Parsons get there? Of course he'll eventually get there. But right now I think that still belongs to Aaron Donald, who is a walking first ballot Hall of Famer when he decides to retire and those 5 years come about. But you talk about a guy who's been dominant since the moment he stepped on the football field in St. Louis when they drafted him. So I'm going with Aaron Donald.
I am glad he's still breathing and still playing in the NFL. I'm glad that you pointed that out there just in case anybody was concerned about his health and his well-being. But how can you not say Micah Parsons? You talk about Aaron Donald, and he rushes from he's the most disruptive interior pass rusher that maybe we've seen in our generation of watching football. Watch where Micah Parsons lines up. 171 snaps at linebacker. He's coming off the edge. He has the highest pass rush win rate in the NFL, more than Nick Bosa, by the way, who is a true edge rusher. Watching everything that this guy did last year, you can't just judge it alone in sack numbers. I know that we love to do this, and I know that we can speak to this from what those numbers mean. 26 and a half sacks in his first 2 seasons. That's remarkable. He's going to be on that Aaron Donald pace. He's only going into his 3rd season. But I think back to Week 15 last year when the Dallas Cowboys played the Jacksonville Jaguars and he only logged 1 sack and people are like, oh, he's slowing down. Teams are figuring him out. He had 12 quarterback pressures in that game. This guy does it everywhere. And when he's not rushing the passer, which is not his primary role, I know that he's trying to bulk up to 255 this year. He wants to do more of that. They utilize him as a chess piece, and you have to game plan for wherever he is on the field because he's a game wrecker. So if he's not dropping back into coverage, he's playing the run, he's coming off the edge, he's everywhere. Nobody gets after the quarterback as fast as Micah Parsons. I was watching back some film this morning against the Washington game last year where he might not get the sack. It might not get recorded on Sam Howell, but he's pushing that left tackle right back into him. And how quick his get-off is off the edge, I don't know if there's another player in the NFL that produces like that as quickly as he has. And, the trajectory he's on, we're going to be having this conversation about him in that best of category for the entirety of his career.
Yeah, I'm going to go with T.J. Watt. I kind of feel like the guy that it's almost like some people have forgotten about how dominant T.J. Watt has been in this league. I mean, just remember like 2 years ago, T.J. Watt was a defensive player of the year and had 22 and a half sacks in 1 season. And I just want, I'm not a big numbers guy. I've never been that, but I just want to bring up some numbers about T.J. Watt when he's on the field as opposed to when he's off for the Steelers. Pressure rate, when T.J. Watt is on the field, the Pittsburgh Steelers were 5th best in the league. Sacks per game, they were 3rd best in the league as opposed to dead last in the league. Points per game, when he was on the field last year, they were the 2nd best scoring defense in the league. When he wasn't, they were dead last in the league. So you're talking about a guy who, when he's on the field, is not only is an elite pass rusher, but the impact he has on the whole defense, that is T.J. Watt. So I think he's a guy that missed 7 games last year. I expect him to be healthy. And when T.J. Watt is healthy, in my opinion, he's the best defensive player that we have in this league.
Ooh, I like both of y'all's choices, but my guy, Aaron Donald, did it in the bright lights, baby. Did it when it mattered the most in the Super Bowl, in the playoffs. Now, Micah Parsons, I love everything about his game, but when I look at the last 2 years versus the San Francisco 49ers, you know how many sacks he had? 0.
Other guys, I'm not saying other guys in the defensive line don't need to step up. I feel like that's been the, storyline with this Dallas defense this year, but he's a game wrecker, Harry,
oh, no.
just like your guy AD.
He a dog. He's a dog. I would love him on my team. I wish he could have been on one of the teams I was on.
You want Aaron Donald on your team, too. You're just going to build the biggest
and
defensive line
and TJ Watt. I would take all three.
What's your salary cap look like?
I don't know. We're going to figure it out like these other owners learned to do.
Not on the list of the top 10 QBs are you most confident will be there next year?
Jordan Love. Christine, this one is easy for me. He's going to have an outstanding season. The quarterback is a developmental position. We just talked about Bryce Young. He's the exception to the rule. Jordan Love has sat for 3 years, and let's look at the way Green Bay has comported themselves in the offseason. They weren't flying out to California begging Aaron Rodgers to come back. When Aaron Rodgers decided he didn't want to come back, they were good with Jordan Love. They have two outstanding running backs, Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. Their offensive line looks like it's going to be healthier than it's been in years. And those two draft choices from a year ago, Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs, are going to be tailor-made for Jordan Love. So to me, he is set up for success. He now has the benefit of sitting for 3 years, and I think he's going to have an outstanding year for the Packers.
Yeah, I'm going to stay into the same division. I'm going to go with Justin Fields. When I look at a guy last year, over 1,100 yards rushing, 4 touchdowns, he has a number 1 wide receiver now, and I think that was one of the most important things when it came to Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears. Letting Justin Fields have that confidence in a guy that can go up and get that football if all things break loose. You know what? I can get this ball to DJ Moore. I trust him. He's going to come down with it. Also, I think history tells us when you see a A.J. Brown and what he did for Jalen Hurts, when you see a Stephon Diggs and what he meant to Josh Allen, also a Jamar Chase and what he meant to a Joe Burrow, I think this is going to be a great season for Justin Fields. Now, the wins might not come the way Chicago wants those wins to come, but as long as he's showing that growth, and I think his athleticism is so dynamic, he's going to be hard to defend. Defensive coordinators on the opposing team, they're going to stay up all night trying to figure out how to defend him. But year 2 in Luke Getsy's system, a better offensive line, but the most important thing, that number 1 wide receiver is going to pay huge dividends for Justin Fields.
Christine, this is like taking candy from a baby. Okay? How did anybody forget Trevor Lawrence?
We didn't forget.
Trevor Lawrence.
We didn't forget.
I definitely didn't forget.
We're talking about a guy. We're talking about a guy, especially like the second half of the season. We saw him take off. We really did saw him take off. The work that Doug Peterson has done with Trevor Lawrence, basically getting him back on track. Now you're talking about a guy. I thought the one of the best moves that was made, over the past year was that trade for Calvin Ridley during the trade deadline last season. I thought that was a clever, under the radar type of move that's going to pay huge dividends. Remember, Calvin Ridley is one of the best route runners that we have in our game. So now you put Calvin Ridley along with Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram, Zay Jones, Travis Etienne. That is firepower, legit firepower that they have now surrounded Trevor Lawrence, and going into year 2 with Doug Peterson at the helm as a play caller. I fully expect Trevor Lawrence to be in that top 10 next year.
And let me say this about Calvin Ridley. You're talking about a guy that can beat you at all 3 levels too, right? Short, intermediate, deep. But if this guy's one-on-one, it's basically 99.9% of the time he's going to win that matchup. You talk about the speed, the explosion, the in and out of breaks and cuts, but the ability to the run after the catch. I think him being paired up with Trevor Lawrence is going to be phenomenal. But Woody, I'm still going with my Justin Fields. I'm still going with my Justin Fields.
Woody, I like your T-Law thing because I went to Clemson.
You see? There you go, Woody. You see what she's doing?
Okay, I do want to ask you guys this because Mike T says Jordan Love, who we haven't seen necessarily prove that he can be an NFL quarterback yet. Do you guys have a reaction to that?
No, I think Jordan Love is set up for success. When you look at their offensive line in Green Bay, led by Ryan, Bakhtiari, also Elton Jenkins, that's set. You look at the running back position being paired with Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon. He has that. If that defense, I think the supporting cast for Jordan Love, I think is very important. If that defense can live up to the hype in which a lot of people were expecting it to in 2022, but they did not, I think Jordan Love is set up for success. It's all about him going out and having that success and taking advantage of the opportunities. But also, Matt LaFleur, we're really going to see some dive-in coaching from Matt LaFleur because now he has a young quarterback. He has to do a little bit more. He has to protect that guy and not put him in situations where he's losing his confidence because this is his first year as a starter.
I always say, like, when it comes to these young quarterbacks that come into the league, so much of it is about where you go, okay, and the culture and the program that you go into. And when you look at the Green Bay Packers, what other program out there that's done a better job of developing quarterbacks? Think about it. We're going on like almost a third decade where they've had they go from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers and now to Jordan Love. Okay, so there's not a program out there that does a better job of developing quarterbacks than the Green Bay Packers, and he's been surrounded by really, really good talent. They have a really good offensive line. They're very young at wide receiver and tight end, but I trust the Green Bay Packers and their organization, their philosophy to get the most out of Jordan Love, and the fact that Jordan Love sat for 3 years.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.